Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire Geek, and we've an article about Riddick to have a look at. Not Riddick Bowe, the famous pugilist. I'm talking about, I forgot his name now. Richard B. Riddick, that's his name, isn't it? From the Riddick movies. So let's have a read of this. This is from Polygon. As usual, links in the description, and don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm also on Rumble and Odyssey and Spotify and Amazon Music Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Spotify, I think, has video, but Amazon and Google don't. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Links are in the description for all that, as are the links on my 2 books. Mercury Rapids, light-hearted sci-fi action-adventure, and Silent Predator, short horror novella, both on Amazon, Kindle or paperback. Oh heck, excuse me. Right, let's have a look at this article. Let's have a look. Right, the Riddick trilogy has one thing no other sci-fi franchise can match. Vin Diesel's sci-fi movies now on Netflix. I don't know, I checked. I'll take their word for it. But this could be America. It's different in the UK, so I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Aren't all wins, but they're all unpredictable passion projects by Daniel Dockery. And there's Vin Diesel as Richard B. Riddick with his enhanced eyes. He had what do they call it? I forgot what they call it. But, for 10 menthol greens or whatever in Butcher Bay, a doctor would make it so you can see in the dark, basically. But it turns out that wasn't true, it was something else. He had his eyes given to him by some mystical Furian something or other. Anyway, in the early 2000s, few actors were being groomed for franchise superstardom the way Vin Diesel was. Within 3 years, he played the lead in 3 would-be series launches: the mysterious, brutal Richard B. Riddick in the sci-fi horror film Pitch Black, the muscle-bound everyman Dominic Toretto in The Fast and the Furious, and the new metal-infused James Bond archetype Xander Cage in Triple X. All 3 movies experienced various degrees of success, with Triple X making big money but falling apart by the sequel because he wasn't even in it. And The Fast and Furious becoming one of the highest grossing series of all time. By the way, I think I've only seen the first 2 of those, and they're alright, I quite like them, but I've never got around to watching the rest. I understand they go a bit out there towards the latter part of the series, but I wouldn't know. Pitch Black's success, on the other hand, led to 2 sequels of varying quality and genre, with a 4th Riddick movie now in development, plus a little-loved animated interlude from Aeon Flux director Peter Chung, 2004's Chronicles of Riddick: Dark Fury, which I thought were pretty good myself. Anyway, but the Riddick series is by far the most interesting of Diesel's franchises. In fact, its approach to storytelling is still a refreshing outlier among most franchise narratives, even if the whole thing is at best deeply inconsistent. The 3 films' arrival on Netflix provides a prime opportunity to look back at a trilogy that has an experimental energy no other sci-fi franchise can match, driven by the passion of its leading man and its director/writer. And the series is admirably unpredictable in an industry usually driven by numbing regularity. That's another image. That's not actually. Oh, it is. Yes, it is. I was going to say that's not actually Riddick, but I think it might be. I think that's from Pitch Black, isn't it? With the planet and the suns, eclipsing the suns. That's why it's called Pitch Black. And then the monsters come out when it gets dark. The late 90s and early aughts were ripe for sci-fi cinema. The Matrix, Equilibrium, and even mega-budget fare like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Spider-Man definitely range in tone and scope, but have a lot in common. Mostly, they're all deeply sincere on a conceptual level, whether it's a relationship between the online and real worlds of The Matrix, the goofy dedication to gun kata in Equilibrium. I've still not got round to watching that. Or the Shucks comic book emotions of Spider-Man. All these movies wear their hearts on their sleeves. Pitch Black shares this too. even if it is remarkably stripped down in retrospect. While only establishing the barest details about the new universe it introduces, it firmly establishes the coolness of its lead, Riddick, who will go from feared criminal to saviour over the course of the film. Harkening back to films like John Carpenter's Escape from New York, stories built on simple atmospheric narratives and awesome anti-heroes, it lives and dies based on just how involved a given viewer is with the idea that Riddick effing owns. And here, more than any other film in the series, Riddick does indeed own, often bathed in shadow and speaking with gruff directness that thankfully never descends into forced one-liners. Riddick is appropriately badass. I like Pitch Black, but I didn't really get into Riddick until Chronicles of Riddick. I love that film. A lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was brilliant. But Pitch Black were okay, I didn't like it at first, but then on repeated viewings, I kind of fell in love with it. But it were the Chronicles of Riddick that captured my imagination with the necromongers and all that. But we'll get to that, I imagine. It helps that the plot is one of the most reliable in Hollywood. Captured bad guy is offered a chance at freedom if he works with some good guys, thus turning into more of a good guy himself, escaping a downed ship and surviving a planet that's fraught with terrifying creatures gives Diesel and director David Twohy plenty of opportunities to show off Diesel's action star potential. Combine this with the movie's horror leanings, there are some nice bits of gore and suspenseful sequences, even though the film's CGI is dated. It's okay. You have an impressive film that can be enjoyed even without the context of the sequels to follow. Opinions about the Riddick series as a whole are most likely to vary because of those sequels. Thanks to Pitch Black's box office and Diesel's increasing fame, the film was granted a follow-up. I think Vin Diesel's, kind of fond of Riddick. I think he's the one that pushes for the sequels, particularly the third one, and I presume this fourth one that's coming out. Anyway. Thanks to Pitch Black's box office and Diesel's increasing fame, the film was granted a follow-up, 2004's The Chronicles of Riddick, which drops the rating to a PG-13 rather than Pitch Black's R. Chronicles is an exercise in world building. It's epic. That seems fairly needless. No, it isn't. It's really good. It is a bit jarring if you watch Pitch Black and then Chronicles of Riddick. They are completely different films. Like Chronicles of Riddick is like an epic, universe-spanning movie, whereas Pitch Black's, alien basically. But anyway, or aliens. Viewed immediately after the first film's restraint. Not content with just letting Riddick do rad stuff again, Twohy and his co-writers instead give the audience a lesson in lore and backstory. Riddick is now one of the last survivors of an ancient warrior race, and potentially the answer to a prophecy, and he must help stop a universe-conquering cult army known as the Necromongers. Venturing across multiple planets with a mix of returning and new characters, Riddick evolves from reluctant criminal to full-on superhero, Luke Skywalker in a muscle tank. And there he is. I think that's the end of Chronicles of Riddick, where the catchphrase of the Necromongers is, you keep what you kill. And Riddick, spoilers, kills the leader of the Necromongers. So we all know what happens after that, don't we? In an abrupt shift in Pitch Black, the closest thing we get to consistent sci-fi motifs are some alien creatures and Riddick's genetically altered eyes. Suddenly in Chronicles, he's racing around lavish sets, being referred to with mythological reverence and doing battle with a horde of dudes in big plastic suits of armour. Riddick himself gets the requisite franchise glow-up too. He speaks almost entirely in t-shirt ready quotes. Oh, back of the bus and shit. In t-shirt ready quotes now, his quirky cruel streak in Pitch Black morphing into an action figure countenance. It's ace. Don't listen to this article. Knowing Vin Diesel's public love of Dungeons and Dragons and his habit of grabbing for the creative reins of his franchises, it's no surprise that he was behind infusing Chronicles with broad fantasy elements, and the fact that it's a passion project is likely the only reason Chronicles doesn't descend into green screen delirium. and maintains at least a little bit of the charm of the first film. It's the exact opposite of most franchise trajectories, ones that leave the actors and creatives feeling like bit players in a world that they made popular while the studios build around them. Franchises also tend to play it safe, focusing on successful trends rather than experimenting with tones, genres or approaches. It's what led to the Fast and the Furious films continually chasing the high of the revelatory Fast Five, just with increasingly ludicrous set pieces. It's also what made Diesel's eventual reprisal of Xander Cage in 2017's XXX Return of Xander Cage feel so relatively lightweight. Nothing feels like it's changed much in the 15-year gap between the first XXX and the sequel. The template was set well in advance. The most intensive labour to be done was figuring out how far the cars will jump. I've not seen it. I've seen the first XXX, really enjoyed it. I can't remember if I've seen the sequel, but never mind. That isn't the case with 2013's Riddick, the third film in the series, which attempts to reconcile Pitch Black's thorny barbarity and chronicles sci-fi grandeur. Here we see that Riddick now runs the Necromongers, a role he's uncomfortable with. So he makes a deal to leave it all behind and go find his home. On the way, he's betrayed and dumped on an isolated desert planet, where he does battle with the local supernatural wildlife, and eventually teams up with murders some mercenaries. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good for what it did. It was like going back to the Pitch Black, but with nods to Chronicles. But it was enjoyable, and it had Katie Sackhoff in, which is a good thing. In short, it's a pseudo reboot of Pitch Black, but with the added knowledge that was revealed in Chronicles. I've just said that, haven't I? The movie leaves viewers alone with Riddick in a hostile environment for an extended period. He befriends a dog alien creature, and it's cool. Allowing him to become a bit more feral than the enlightened champion from the end of the previous film, and its R rating means Riddick can tear through adversaries with aplomb rather than stabbing at dudes wearing outer space shoulder pads. But the third film isn't as visually inspired as Pitch Black, and the mishmash of dull browns and greys in the sets bleeds into the constant CGI. It's alright, it's good. Once again, the constant in the series is Diesel's enthusiasm. He was willing to lose his house to fund the film. Even when Riddick's dusty machismo and plain-spoken brusqueness start to feel pretty corny on the third time through, it's hard to find another series that expanded so much, only to cut off every possible loose end in favour of a back-to-basics story. Well, they've got to think of the money, haven't they? Chaotic box office returns certainly helped trim the potential scope of the Riddick series, where its contemporary franchises, from the Matrix movies to Star Wars and the Spider-Man series, were all marked by an explosive increase in on-screen stuff to be digested. With the fourth Riddick movie currently in pre-production, it's hard to guess where Diesel's character will end up next. The film's proposed title, Riddick 4 Furia, I think it'll just be Riddick Furia, won't it? Or something like that. It won't have a 4 in it. Hints that we may be in line for another Chronicles-style expansion of the scope and the mythos. The Furians were Riddick's warrior race, as revealed in Chronicles, and Furia was where Riddick was heading at the beginning of Riddick, before his crewmates made the foolish decision to try to kill him. That's it. The thing about Chronicles of Riddick, I mean, I love it. I think it's amazing, but you don't get any sense of the universe from Pitch Black. Pitch Black is just people on a spaceship that crash. They've got to survive. There's these aliens. And you don't really get much, knowledge of what's out there. But then in Chronicles, like I said, there's the Necromongers. There's the I forgot what they call them, Judi Dench, and when she moves, she becomes ethereal, and like wispy and stuff like that. There's all this like weird stuff going on. And like I said, we learn about the Furians, but we presume they're all from Earth originally. We don't know how far in the future it is. Is it thousands of years in the future? Well, I imagine so. I don't know. Maybe it does tell us that, and I've just missed it. I don't know, but it's a big universe out there that David Twohy's created. But with the Chronicles, we get a taste of that. But in Pitch Black and Riddick, the third one, they bring it back in a little bit. Anyway, But really, we just want to see Riddick killing mofos, don't we? That's what we want, which he does. Given the history of the franchise, though, this film could take a wide variety of approaches, which is part of what's fun about the Riddick films. They don't follow the typical arc for a sci-fi series, much less the arc of other series that made Vin Diesel so prominent in the action movie world. Instead, thanks to his input and TOYG's, we got three films that differ wildly from one another. It's unclear whether anyone cares as much about Riddick as Vin Diesel, but if that means we have one action franchise where no film ever coasts on the success of the last one, so much the better, yes. And they didn't even mention the video games, did they? I think they had two. There were Escape from Butcher Bay, which were well received. I've not played either of them. And I think there were another one just called Riddick, I think. I can't actually remember. Let's look it up, Let's look it up. Riddick video games. And let's see. Right, okay. What we got there? Escape from Butcher Bay and Assault on Dark Athena. So is that the two that we've got? Right. I've not played either of them. But I think they were well received. I thought there were a newer one as well. Maybe I'm just thinking of that Assault on Dark Athena. Maybe I'm just thinking of that. Yeah. So there's those two, which were well received. I think were quite successful at the time, but they didn't mention them. But I think in Escape from Butcher Bay, or it could be the other one, I can't remember. I think it's Escape from Butcher Bay, where it's changed that how he gets his eye shine. As I said, in the first Pitch Black, it says a doctor at Butcher Bay did it, so he could see in the dark. But then I think in Escape from Butcher Bay, it's shown that it's like some supernatural Furian thing. Some person appears to him and gives him his ability to see in the dark. Anyway, it didn't cost him a pack of menthol cools or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, the Riddick films are a lot of fun. I really like them. I like the Chronicles of Riddick the most because it's the most epic and the most ambitious, and it's good fun. There's great action in it on various different planets, and it's great. It's great stuff. And the Necromongers are cool. They're just this army that's going around conquering worlds, and it's really good. It's really good. And the first and the third film, are pared back. They're not as epic as the middle one. I don't know what you call the second one. The first one was just called Pitch Black, but then when the second one came out, the Chronicles of Riddick, for some reason they started calling the first one the Chronicles of Riddick Pitch Black, and the third one, the Chronicles of Riddick. And you think, that doesn't make sense, does it? But never mind. Right, anyway, apparently you can watch them on Netflix. I don't know if that's in the UK, but give them a watch. They're a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to the fourth one and see what happens with Furia. I suppose they'll take over the galaxy and rule that. I don't know. Right, we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Wherever you are in the universe, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see you there.